makes it astounding to me is that this is the hottest salmon fishery in history here along the San Joaquin Valley. Why don't we restore this river in a responsible way? We can do that, and we can get our water back. Take the money saved and then try to enhance the salmon fisheries in the eel or the northern areas where they're viable right now. You get more salmon per buck. It would make a lot of sense, and we'd get our water back. But we can't get the environmentalists to even talk about that, and you can't get the legislators to talk about it for the most part either. Now, it's temperance flat. We have a big bond on there to bring water, but let's look, if we revise the San Joaquin River settlement, this year they're taking up to 384,000 acre feet. Without turning the shovel, you could get a whole much more yield just by revising that settlement. You wouldn't have to build a dam. Frankly, there's no reason to build the dam if they're going to take all this water and waste it, trying to bring up 500 salmon up a dead river. Last, the commodity groups, the farm groups, and us farmers, quite frankly, I think we got to be more aggressive. And I think we have to have representatives that are more aggressive. This idea of going hat in hand, being polite, and this posterior kissing that goes on all the time has not worked. Okay, for 18 years we've done this, and all we've done is lose water. We've got to be more aggressive in protecting ourselves and getting some of our water back. And if the representatives we have are unwilling to do that or unable to do that, then we need to get new representatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Fred Starr of Star and Star Cotton Growers in Shafter.
The name Star and Star Cotton Growers is about passe. Cotton's about gone in the valley, as we know, but we still grow a little bit. I'm a farmer, and my family is a family farm. We have 2 sons, a son-in-law, and my 2 daughters do the books for the farm. We farm a lot of almonds, pistachios, and cotton and hay, but the problem is we're in the state water project for the bulk of our lands. The Kern County has 1 million acre feet allocation into the entitlement that they have in the state water project. 100,000 of that is urban, 900,000 is ag. In the last 3 years, in a short history statement, we have lost 1,600,000 acre feet of water that was supposed to be delivered into that area. And people are complaining about farmers sucking the groundwater dry. What do they do when their water is not being delivered that they're paying for? Kern County has paid over $100 million in the last 3 years for water that has not been received. We personally put out about 1,600,000 in the last 3 years for water we didn't receive. And then we get the blame for using water out of the underground, which legally is our water if it's used for a beneficial use. This is just a short story to tell you how desperate the situation is. We've had 2,000 acres idle for the last 3 years. Hasn't produced a dime. It's lost 15 jobs that would have been used on those lands. And this is we see no future at this point. Under the existing circumstances, I sit on the Kern County Water Agency, our water resource manager said under the existing rules, we could maybe get 20% this year. We're at 5% allocation right now. We could get 20. If they were to lift some of the restrictions, we could get a high of 70%. And that's why it is a regulatory drought, where everybody else, I know Secretary Salazar didn't say that, but I can assure you that it is, for a fact, a regulatory drought. And people just have to face this and deal with it. And I agree with Cole, we can't just sit here and wait for the future to deal with this. It's like the 2 gate projects on these that was being looked at as an exploratory avenue to deal with some of this. They've canceled that now. That was just something to see if it would work, and they won't even let that happen. Anything we try to put forth to cure the problem, the environmentalists would block it every turn. And I just think it's time, as Cole said, that you and the representatives that are willing to stand up and be counted, carry the mantle. You're doing it now, and we appreciate it. And I just want to thank you for holding this hearing to bring the point to the people here in the county and in the state that this is real and we have to deal with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Finally, as you noticed, we have an empty seat next to Secretary Ken Salazar's name. He could not spare one person in the entire Department of Interior to come here today. But we do have testimony that he gave at the House Natural Resources Committee this past year. I think it speaks volumes of the administration's position and also what we're up against in Washington, D.C. So may I ask that that testimony be played right now?
Including the fact that many of the farmers who have relied on water have a very junior water right within the scheme of water rights in California.
Doesn't the law provide for the waiver of these regulations in an economic emergency? And why isn't the department following through on that?
The law does provide for a God squad to essentially override the requirements of the law. My own view, I've said this before, I'll say it here today, is that is an admission of failure, and frankly, it would be a way in which we ultimately would not address the comprehensive nature of the issues that need to be addressed in the Bay Delta. In conversations that I've had with members of the California Congressional delegation, I think it's recognized, for example, that the huge water quality issues that are affecting the Bay Delta, including urban runoff and a whole host of other things, are also contributing factors to the species issues that we have today.
I think
so
the Central Valley would define failure as 40% unemployment in Mendota and an agricultural industry that has literally been brought to its knees. Thank you. That's what we're up against. Again, I want to thank the witnesses for their testimony and their leadership in this crisis. I'd like to invite them to come forward now to the dais. Bring your name tags with you there, or nameplates with you. The rest of this hearing belongs to the people. We've got staff members with microphones. You guys want to raise your hands so we can see you? Who's got the microphones? One over there. And who's got the other one? Okay, very good. Folks, if you could just flag down one of the staff members if you want to speak. Please identify yourself first, and so that others can have the opportunity to speak, please try to keep your comments as brief as possible, no longer than a minute. And if you're asking a question or want a response from anyone on the panel, please direct your comments to them, and I'd ask that they also keep their response to about a minute.
Mr. McClintock, if you would yield for a moment. I received an email from an elementary school teacher, Mr. Matt McIntyre, and he asked if we could submit, since he's teaching today, he asked if I could submit his testimony for the record. It's a little long to summarize, so I think we're better off to submit it, but essentially what he's making the point that that this global warming issue is one that's killing jobs here in the San Joaquin Valley.
Okay.
Thank you for the day, and thank you. I'm Phil Larson, Fresno County Supervisor, District 1, which encompasses the west side of Fresno County. And I want to thank you, Mr. McClintock. Knowing you from the Farm Bureau days when you testified many times, you indeed are a champion of the people. Thank you for your attention. But let me tell you, I don't know what the man was thinking about from the San Joaquin River, but I can tell you one thing. They're going to take water for fish, and they're going to take 200,000 acre-feet this year, and then next year they're going to come back and say, you know, that's not quite enough. We need more water. And pretty soon they dry up the east side, just like they've dried up the west side. We got people standing in food lines out there, 40% unemployed. I've walked those fields as a crop consultant and pest control advisor for 38 years that produced food and fiber. 95% of the iceberg lettuce that's consumed in the United States in the spring and the fall comes from the Huron area. 50% of the tomato products, 100% of the almonds. We grow 100% of all the raisins, of which I am a raisin grower. Gentlemen, let me tell you, this is a serious problem. This is a catastrophe. This is our Katrina. This is our Haiti, because we got people out of work. We are losing today because they won't let the pumps run. Just the pumps alone. 18,000 acre-feet of water a day that could be put in the San Luis Reservoir. Why? Because of bureaucratic structure and the ESA. He says, don't adjust the ESA. Let me tell you something. The ESA has a fallacy that's long overdue to be eliminated, sir. I can tell you that, and that's on me. I don't know where you got your head, but it's not on your shoulders. I'm just telling you right now, we need